Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Boku no Hero Academia Season 4 Episode 4. So I'm really excited to talk about this one just because I love the series so much. This was a really fun episode. This was really good. I was actually excited for this one. It was really, really good, and I think in general this season has been really, really great in a character and plot development aspect. Maybe not so much as a just straight action bit to action bit sort of progression like last season. Like last season, the first 4 episodes, we were all already getting into all this like hype stuff where it was just fights and cool stuff like that. Where with this one, it's been really, really good at developing the story between characters and stuff. And I do get a feeling that this season will have a little bit of all that kind of stuff when it comes to character development and excitement when it comes to fights and stuff. I think that they'll probably organize it to... I'm not going to bring up the manga or compare it to the manga very much because I don't like to do anything that would even be somewhat spoilery for anime onlys, but I get the feeling that they can adapt this season in a way that really highlights both the slower portions based around character development and the fights and stuff. I'm really excited to see how Bones handles this. But yeah, it was a really good episode. One of the things that I really, really enjoyed, and that I enjoy in a grander sense in the back half of last season and well into this season, especially this episode, is All Might's transitioning place in the story, going from the place he had in the story before, where he was this guy who could just come in and take out any villains, like we saw with the Nomu at USJ, or like we saw with All for One, transitioning from that to more of just a passive supporter, helping Izuku grow sort of as a person, but not being able to help out necessarily in a physical way. So I like the way that the transition's been really, really great. How All Might was one character, and he's still the same character, but he's also fulfilling a different role in the story now too, and I think it's really, really cool. Also, Izuku we're starting to see over these few episodes, but especially in his speech to All Might here, and even a little bit in his interaction with Chisaki, how Izuku's becoming his own person. He's becoming himself, and I think that's really, really cool too. We get a bit more into Night Eye's character, which is great, and how Night Eye has seen an unfortunate future, and Night Eye's thing is that he wants to try to change that future, but at the same time, nothing has ever gone differently from what Night Eye has foreseen before. So the future may not be able to be changed. Another thing, I've been watching episodes in both sub and dub, just because I know that a lot of people that watch my videos have talked about the dub before, so I've listened to both. I thought the dub was great this episode. I thought it was really, really good, especially, and I've mentioned this before, I like Night Eye's voice in the original voice acting in Japanese, but Night Eye's voice in the dub is so good this season. So yeah, and even I've been like way on the sub Chisaki side. I'm like, sub Chisaki's amazing. I'm not really all that into dub Chisaki. Well, this episode, I thought the dub Chisaki was really, really good too. But yeah, Night Eye for me is really carrying the dub right now. So that's some general thoughts. Now to get into the episode a bit scene by scene. We start off with them being Mirio and Izuku, learning each other's hero names. So we have him reacting to Deku like, what? Deku? So he's like, are you sure you're okay with that name? But then he explains that his name is Lemillion, because you can't save everyone, so try to save at least 1,000,000. And I really, really like that. Also, him throwing Izuku's mask back on once they run into Chisaki. So I've never hated Izuku's mask. I know a lot of people hate the mask. I've never disliked it really. Especially with like, I get it the beginning of the series when he had that like weird plastic or mesh kind of mouth guard. But now that he has the metal mouth guard thing around his neck, if he just wore the mask on like his eyes up, I think I'd be really cool with that. Plus the mask is sort of important to contain his identity and all that, but in Boku no Hero Academia that doesn't actually seem like all that important of a detail really. But Chisaki mentions that Eri is his daughter. Now, daughter in heavy quotations, as a bunch of anime onlys that I'm watching their videos have said, because it's like, can you trust this guy? Can you believe this guy? I don't know. Was he lying here? I mean, he did ask them to come into a sketchy back alley. But this interaction was very good. I like Chisaki's sort of plays that he was making and how he was just sort of being very courteous and polite toward them, or Mirio being smart and trying to play it off, but also Izuku definitely having a point too in, I can't just say, oh well yeah, you're totally right, shove her off and move on, or won't you get suspicious that a hero just like ignored this weird awkward situation. So I like that they all had a point, all of it worked together really well. But in the end, he showed that he was about to take the glove off. Eddie was like, oh, this isn't good. So she went back to him, and yeah, it's kind of a big moment. We'll see how important this moment is for all these characters moving forward in the future. But I like that just this initial interaction is really cool. Instead of them doing the typical shonen thing of storming the base and having all the interaction play out there, it's nice to have the main character meet with sort of the big bad of this villain group in just a random street encounter before any of it happens. I think that's really, really cool. But as they go their separate ways and they make it back to, or Chisaki makes it back to the Shie Hisaikai base, we see Chronostasis. We actually get Chrono as his name, at least, or his villain name, Yakuza name. I don't know what you'd call it. But also the guy who was supposed to be watching Eri gets completely pasted, totally overhauled. He's gone, and it's interesting. We see the hives on Overhaul again after he turns the guy into blood puddle. So from there, we also get to see the hideout from the outside, from the perspective of Night Eye and Bubble Girl, which is pretty cool. They mentioned that there are fewer people coming in and out lately. And Night Eye, I think, is really cool here in his interaction when he finds out what happened with Izuku and Mirio. One of his first instincts, he takes responsibility. He says, you know what, it's not your fault, it's my fault. We could have avoided all this if I would have just used my quirk, used my foresight on you before you left. Because that's not really one of the things you'd necessarily think about having to do if they're just going on kind of a normal patrol. He wouldn't expect him to actually run into and have an encounter with the big bad of this group randomly on the streets. So it's interesting that he takes responsibility. I could have done better in this situation by using my quirk on you just in case. And then we get a little bit of the story behind the Reservoir Dogs from last season and how they were actually healed. We saw them all messed up and combined with like truck parts and everything, but somehow or another, they ended up perfectly fine and safe. In addition to that, the money they stole was reported as being burned, and there is no way in hell anyone should believe that. Even me, as like a manga reader, I'm like, should I even believe that? I don't remember, but I would just take the side of assuming that they probably stole the money. I mean, all the Reservoir Dogs did was steal a cash register, so it couldn't have been all that much money to begin with. But the fact that it was supposedly burned up just seems so sketchy. But the thing is, if they came up with the excuse of, well, nobody was harmed, in fact everybody was healed, and also all the money was burnt up, the thing is, that's again with the Shie Hisaikai's legal gray area. They don't have anything to arrest them on. They don't have any evidence that any crime actually took place. Another good line from Night Eye here is, you know, the haste makes waste. You can't save whoever, whenever. And I think that's really important for Izuku as a character to hear, because while it would be nice to just save everybody immediately, do we really think Izuku could have taken Chisaki at this point, right here and there where they were? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe civilians could have got involved, like what Shigaraki said at the end of Season 2 at the mall scene. There's a lot of parts to this where it's like, yeah, they couldn't have really stopped him here. Even if they tried, the odds of things going wrong would have been bad. Like, even if he didn't hurt them or hurt any civilians, what if he just escaped and was like, okay, now I know that heroes are after me, now I'm not coming out of hiding whatsoever, or showing any proof of wrongdoing whatsoever. Or even then, they didn't really have too solid of evidence to attack him on in the moment. So yeah, it's just one of those interesting things where it's frustrating. And like Night Eye says, the best villains hide in the shadows, so they don't have that opportunity to just stop them, because he's not out here just in broad daylight committing random crimes. But after all of that, which I thought was good, we get a scene back at the school. Bakugo is funny. We have it mentioned that Asui, Uraraka, and Kirishima all found work studies, so those three have work studies as well. Of course, we saw last episode that Tokuyami's going to be with Hawks and Kyushu. We now have Izuku with of course, with Sir Night-Eye. So we have a few students now that have found work studies. Izuku, though, couldn't focus on any of his classes because not only was he thinking about the interaction he just had and not being able to save Eri, but he had all of this other stuff. Why was All Might hiding from him this whole Night-Eye and Mirio stuff? Why would Night-Eye just instantly be like, yeah, I'm gonna reject you, or you're not worthy? And how does he feel or know about all of this, or how much does he feel or know? Like, Izuku has been completely left out when he didn't need to be completely left out. So because of that, he confronts All Might about it. And we learned that All Might actually has been working out on his own since the home visits, which I like that timeline, because that would have been when Inko told him that he has to live in order to help raise Izuku and stuff. So I like all of that. So he mentioned that he didn't think he should tell Izuku this whole story because Izuku is a fan of his. We get the backstory of him working for 5 years with Night-Eye. The two of them were close and really got along, but 6 years ago, when the incident with All For One happened, they split apart. Because Night-Eye saw the future that if he continued, he was going to die to a villain in 6 to 7 years. So, because of that, he wanted All Might, go ahead, choose a successor now, and it's going to take us a little bit of time to raise him up, but you need to stop working as a hero, because I see how things are going to go if you continue working as a hero. But All Might was like, I'll find a successor when I find a successor. I know there's a time limit on it and everything, but the people can't wait in the interim for me to raise up a successor. I need to still work as I'm doing all this. I can't take a break. So again, it's an interesting difference where Night-Eye is right in saying that, yeah, you need to raise up a successor. I don't want you to die because we're friends and I look up to you. And at the same time, All Might is right in saying that, yeah, I do need to raise up a successor, but I don't have time to take away for the villains to get a foothold without me there as a symbol, or for people to live in fear without me showing up as a symbol. So again, more important than the actual minutia of the hero stuff was that All Might had to be out there, if just to be a symbol. So again, all of that was interesting, and of course it's 6 or 7 years, meaning that either this year or the next, All Might is fated to die, it would seem, probably. But again, like he says later on, he doesn't know if he's already changed the future or not. And I like how Izuku handles it in a cool way, where he's like, yeah, everybody, he's like, I expected All Might to die. Everybody dies someday, but it's different for that person to just tell you clearly, hey, there's a time frame on it, I'm going to die. And this is here. And I feel like it's cool because there's a lot of things with how well the characters are written in My Hero Academia where things fit in to things that people go through in real life in sort of a fantasy kind of way here, but there are people in real life who have had people where they're like, yeah, I have this much time to live and this is what's going to kill me. And again, it's a different thing from the experience of everybody's gonna die someday to, oh yeah, this person's going to die and this is when and how. Like, there's sort of this difference there that Izuku has to go through with somebody who's close to All Might. So we get to learn that the foresight never changes, which is something we already sort of known. And All Might's like, yeah, the reason I can't face him is because even though I've fought and done my hardest to fight against fate, everything has turned out exactly as he said it would. And I love how also he says, when I first got the news of that from him, I just sort of accepted it. I was like, if the finish line comes in 6-7 years, then I'll just run until I get there. But meeting Izuku and the time he spent with Izuku changed All Might. It gave him a reason to live. And this is something that I've mentioned a lot throughout the series, how I love one of the big themes of the series is not only is All Might changing Izuku's life by giving him a quirk, giving him the opportunity to stand in the ring with other people like Bakugo who already had all of this ability. Not only is he changing Izuku's life, but Izuku throughout the course of the series has also changed All Might's life a lot. And it was something that was really brought up in the fight with All For One last year. Last year in real life time, not in the show's time. Where when he was fighting him, All For One was like, ordinarily you wouldn't fight this way. Somebody has been affecting you. And I love that he's changed as a person and is different because of Izuku in his life, which is really, really, really cool. He also mentions that when he was fighting All For One, he was like, yeah, I thought that was the finish line, but I'm still alive, so maybe I've already changed my fate. But the scene between them where they both sort of promised to change fate together, I thought it was really, really good with the sunset and everything. It was one of the best shots of All Might when he was in his sort of transformed form, but it's not the same as it used to be. And then seeing Izuku with his fist out and the wind blowing his hair back, it was just really good. I really liked that scene. And then very much at the end, Izuku just being like, wait, why don't we just test it? Why don't we just have Night Eye look again? And I like the one line was translated as, wouldn't that be too convenient? But also it's a matter of All Might saying, think about how Night Eye would feel. Yeah, All Might just shows up, see if I'm actually still going to die. Night Eye looks at it and he has to see the person he admires dying and be like, well, yeah, now I've seen you dying, and now I have to live with having seen you die and know that this is going to happen and it can't be changed. So again, it is one of those situations that I think is really cool in the way it's written, where it's like, you got to think of Night Eye's point in this too. Do you really want to make him have to see his hero and friend die? But very end of the episode, Shigaraki meets Chisaki and stuff, and I actually skipped over it in my notes earlier. Yeah, I skipped over it in my notes somehow, but the scene where we see Chisaki saying that Eri is a big part of his plan. We still don't know exactly what his plan is in the anime. And also we have Mimic saying, hey, you've gotten a call now from Shigaraki. And he wants to give you his answer. So at the very end, we see that Shigaraki is meeting up with Chisaki. And next week, looking at the preview for next week's episode, again, I'm not going to say anything about it, not to spoil anybody. I might do a reaction next week. I kind of want to do reactions for some episodes this season. We'll just see how things go. Because again, that's something that I'm not experienced with, that I don't know much about. But it's something I very much want to do. And it's something that takes up a lot of time. And I'm already doing a bazillion-D video, so I don't know. But I'm going to try my best. So yeah, I thought it was a really, really good episode. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, the season has been great in a character plot development sort of way, more so than even an action fighty kind of way, but it's been great for developing characters, and I'm excited to see more of that personally. Plus, new characters. I want new characters. I want more development for the big three, because they're essentially still new characters. We basically haven't seen much of any of them besides Mirio. So yeah, I want more of all that. But yeah, either way, 8.5 Fates out of 10. It was a very good episode. It wasn't, to me, the most exciting upon first watch, but I definitely appreciate how good it was. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that to keep updated on stuff for the channel and to tell me what you thought of this episode and what your opinions are so we can all talk and everything. And also, if you want to, you can follow on Twitter and I'll keep you updated there on stuff for the channel. I post updates there and on the community tab here. Lately, I've just gotten a lot better at posting them on the community tab here on YouTube. But you can totally follow me on Twitter and we can talk there about anything, or if you'd like to join the Discord server, just ask and I can give you a link. It's free and open for anyone. All you got to do is ask. And also, if you'd like to help support the channel to keep these videos coming, patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description to that. Also, as far as the Patreon goes, if I do end up posting reactions for some of these episodes, maybe even the rest of them at a certain point once I figure out what I'm doing. If I do end up doing that, they're going to be edited reactions on YouTube, and you will get the full uncut thing on Patreon at probably like $5 and up, just as a way to help kind of fund the channel continuing and me adding all these extra videos onto it, just to be able to afford to do that. But yeah, that is it. And yeah, like I said, you will still get the actual edited reactions here for free on YouTube, plus the reviews. The reviews would still be coming either way. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.